They said the new system was supposed to save lives, faster matches, smarter allocation, real-time compatibility updates pulled from everything, DNA, behavioral profiles, digital footprints. The TransLife organ exchange was meant to end the black market. That was the pitch. Every hospital in the country adopted it within 6 months, but no one ever asked where the matches were coming from. Not really. And by the time we figured it out, people were already hearing footsteps from inside themselves. I was one of the first flagged cases. My name's Paul Donner. I'm a paramedic. Or, I was, before the transplant. I'd been on the list for 3 years. Severe cardiomyopathy. My heart barely pumped enough to keep my fingers from turning blue. They told me I had maybe 6 months. I didn't want to die, but I'd made peace with it. Then, one night, my name jumped the list. No explanation, no next of kin notification. Just a single call at 3:13 a.m. We found a compatible donor. Please report to St. Elwyn's Surgical Center. Pre-OP begins in 40 minutes. I asked who the donor was. They said the record was sealed. Privacy regulations? I remember lying on the table, anesthetic clouding the edges of my vision, thinking, something's off. But I didn't stop it. I let them open me. And for 2 days, everything felt like a miracle. The new heart beat stronger than my old one ever had. My lungs cleared, my skin flushed. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Too alive. The first night home, I woke up at 2:06 a.m., drenched in sweat, heart hammering like I'd just run a marathon. My hands were clenched, my jaw tight. I'd had a dream, or at least I think it was a dream. I was in a basement, chained, but I wasn't afraid, I was excited. And then I looked in the mirror, except it wasn't me. It was a man with eyes too wide, smiling at someone off-screen. When I woke up, I tasted blood, not in my mouth, in the back of my mind. I tried to dismiss it. Post-surgical delirium, drug residue, PTSD maybe. But it happened again the next night, different place, same feeling. I was watching someone, hiding in the dark, holding my breath while they reached for a light switch, and hoping they wouldn't see me, hoping I could wait until they turned their back. And in that dream, I moved too easily. Like I'd done it before. By the end of the week, I stopped sleeping. Every night was worse. I started walking with a slight limp I never had before. I started craving foods I used to hate, raw meat, bone marrow broth, anything metallic. But it was the mirror that broke me. 2 weeks post-op, I caught my own reflection, and it blinked too late. My eyes moved before the glass did. It was like the mirror had to catch up, like something inside me was checking to make sure it looked right. That same night, I got a message. No number, just a screen flash. You're the perfect match. It didn't say who it was from. I ignored it, but the next day, it happened again. Same message, different device. This time, it came through my TV. Not an app, not an alert. Just text, black letters over static. You found me. I pulled my medical records, had to fight for them. 2 layers of clearance, 2 refusals, and a signed waiver. The file I got wasn't complete, but it had the donor ID. I traced it through an older archive from before the TransLife merger. The donor's name was Anton Kell, died 3 months before my transplant. No family, no obituary. But his name was in the Interpol database. Anton was a prime suspect in 6 missing persons cases across 3 states, last seen entering a condemned textile mill in upstate New York. No body ever found. But his heart? Perfectly preserved, labeled trauma victim, anonymous donor. And now it was beating inside me. I didn't want to believe it. A murderous heart beating in my chest. That was horror enough. But what came next wasn't horror. It was calculation. I started investigating the other accelerated cases, the ones like mine, recipients who jumped the queue without cause, without donor family contact. There were more than a dozen in the tri-state area alone, each with different organs, each with different symptoms, but all of us had one thing in common: we were being followed. Some admitted it outright, paranoid glances over shoulders, security camera loops, keys between knuckles just to check the mail. Others weren't so lucky. One recipient, Emily Barr, liver transplant 29, went missing 12 days post-op. Her last known location, her apartment hallway, 2 floors from her unit. The CCTV showed her entering. Then nothing. No exit, no visitors. Just a smudge on the lens at 3:12 a.m. Her phone was found across town in a drainage ditch, still unlocked, camera app open. The final photo, a figure in her doorway, shadowed, tall, smiling. His torso had surgical scars that matched hers, as if the liver had recognized itself, and smiled. I met with another recipient, Gregory Banks, kidney transplant, mid-40s, former police dispatcher. We talked in a diner off I-84, neutral ground, public. He ordered a black coffee, held the cup with shaking hands, and said, "I think she wants it back." He didn't mean metaphorically, he meant his kidney. He'd seen a woman, young, pale, burned on one side of her face, waiting at every stoplight on his commute. She never moved, never crossed, just stared. One day she mouthed something. He lip-read it. "That belongs to me." A week later, he woke up in his car outside the hospital, seat reclined, abdomen bleeding through his shirt. The kidney was still inside him, but now it hurt, constantly. The scans showed nothing, but when they pumped in contrast dye, the outline of the organ flickered. Not a shadow, a signature. Not his, hers. Gregory's last words to me before disappearing were, "The database isn't matching recipients to the best biological candidate. It's matching us to the ones who want to come back." I didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But that night, I checked the TransLife records again. The site glitched halfway through. Kicked me out, but not before I saw it. A back-end field marked return condition, yes, attached to my name. And below that, confirmed presence within 3-mile radius. Delivery successful. Delivery, not surgery, not transplant, delivery. As if I wasn't the patient, I was the destination. That's when I stopped pretending I could walk this back, that it was a fluke, because the dreams weren't dreams anymore. They came when I was awake. Little flashes, sudden thoughts that weren't mine. Hunger that wasn't mine. I'd drive past a stranger and feel an itch behind my teeth, like memory leaking from someone else's nerves, and my reflection. It's no longer just slow. It smiles when I don't. It stares longer than I do. It leans forward when I back away. The final straw came 3 days ago. I was walking my usual route, same corner store, same alley shortcut, when a man stepped out from behind the dumpster. Tall, wrong posture, too still. And he looked exactly like the photo of Anton Kell from the Interpol file, except younger. Whole, not decomposed, like he never died at all. He didn't say a word, just pointed at my chest, then turned and walked away. When I got home, I found a surgical tag in my mailbox. The barcode matched my transplant bracelet. The back was scrolled with a single sentence. "You weren't supposed to wake up first. I didn't want to die a second time." That's the thought that kept circling as I ran the last trace on the TransLife database, on a machine I had to. Build from salvage parts, with the WI-5 physically torn out and the power routed through a breaker I could flip in an instant. Because I knew if this thing reached back even once, I wouldn't be able to turn it off. Not the machine. Me. It took hours, but I finally found it, the original code archive. A deployment script dated 5 years before the first transplant, buried in a dry, anonymized repository full of medical jargon. But inside the comments were rituals, not protocols. Phrases like, "Subject must remain unaware of donor identity until psychic retention is complete." Sympathetic resonance initiates full-loop pairing. Final phase triggers when the organ accepts re-entry. I didn't know what that last line meant, not until I saw the timestamp log. At the moment of my transplant, 3:17 a.m., the system recorded a second activation event just 1.7 seconds later. Same ID, same organ. 2 signals, 1 heartbeat. The donor's heart, Anton's heart, was never just preserved. It was preserved alive, not biologically, not physically, psychically. And when they put it inside me, I didn't receive it. It received me. The donor wasn't gone, he was waiting. That's when I understood the TransLife system wasn't matching organs to save lives, it was matching bodies to bring something back. Every recipient was a door, a vessel, and once we accepted the organ, once our bodies welcomed it, adapted to it, loved it, it was over. That was the real condition, acceptance. And I had accepted. I felt it in my dreams, in my cravings, in the strange way my reflection breathed without me. I was just the soil. Anton had been growing himself back inside me. I don't know how many of us there are now. Dozens, hundreds. We all thought we were survivors, but we were only ever meant to ripen. And once we were ready, the donor came back. I've seen them. The others, walking among us, not copies, not ghosts, returns. In skin that wasn't theirs anymore, in eyes that remember things too clearly, a woman in Phoenix with a new liver who started sketching maps of tunnels she'd never visited. A teenager in Ontario with a replacement cornea who began painting faces that looked suspiciously like victims from unsolved disappearances. One recipient, a kid, maybe 14, had a femur replaced after a car crash. 6 months later, he started speaking fluent Romanian. He'd never been. But the language wasn't just speech, it was memory. Everything the donor knew came back. And if you watch long enough, you'll see it. The same smiles, the same posture, the same hunger. Because the TransLife system doesn't purge donors from the list after surgery. I checked. Their status? Delivered. Their location? Integrated. But the most horrifying part? They all share the same field. A second recipient ID, the person who received them, the host. It's not a transplant system, it's an invitation system. I should have destroyed the server, but I needed to know, so I ran one last test. A full biometric trace, not of Anton. Of me. Where was I? What did the system say? The answer took a minute to resolve. Then the screen went dark. Black. Text appeared, white on void. You are no longer listed. Host shell nearing expiration. Reclamation scheduled. My chest tightened. Not metaphorically, literally. My sternum clicked. Not a crack, a hinge. Something beneath the ribcage shifted, like a door starting to open. I ran to the mirror, pulled my shirt off, and stared. Nothing. No bruising, no inflammation, but when I leaned close, I heard it, a heartbeat. 2, mine, and another one underneath. Slower, steadier, older. I staggered back. My breath fogged the glass, but my reflection didn't. It just smiled. Anton's face, grafted over mine, bone for bone, and he mouthed, "Thank you for waiting." That's when I knew. I wasn't going to survive this. I never was. The transplant wasn't the beginning. It was the handover, the final step in a long process. I was just the last address on a delivery route, and the package was me. This is my last message. I'm sending it off-grid, stashing it where no network can find it, except the ones that don't use wires. If you're a recipient, if you've had a transplant in the last year, check your mirror, check your pulse, check the shadows for someone smiling too long. Because when the heartbeat inside you changes rhythm, it's not yours anymore. It's his.